Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. My name is Joe Skipper. I am a real estate agent out of Oregon. I own Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, with my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. How are you, Cody?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Getting a little bit of summer weather coming in and
I know it's
soccer. We
nice.
wrapped up soccer this weekend, so we actually get to enjoy some time now. So, yeah.
Nice,
How about you?
nice. Good, good. We're ready for the summer. This is a great podcast to transition into because I get to talk to two lenders about how you are keeping the interest rates super high
Hmm.
going into summer and ruining our time as buyers and sellers. But
Yes.
we'll get into that
It's our
later. But
honor.
uh, we've got a cool guest on, a friend of mine, Casey McLaughlin with U.S. Bank. He's a lender with U.S. Bank. He'll get into kind of the details of what he does and how he got to where he got. I think it's a cool story. You guys
Hmm.
are going to probably chat back and forth about all the lending stuff, but I just kind of wanted to get into it a little bit historically with Casey, because Casey, you have a cool story of kind of what you got you into lending and how you're doing now. And you mentioned prior to the recording 16 years in the industry, so it's a pretty cool story. And for people that are
Hmm.
thinking about getting into lending or different aspects of the lending process and the sales process, it'd be good to talk to you, Casey. So welcome, Casey, to the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate the invite. Look forward to sharing some hopefully insightful information. And yeah,
For sure. We're looking forward to chatting. So let's just get started. Casey, if you want to kind of get, we don't need to get into the life history of you, but kind of just get into, where did you start, kind of where you started and where did you get to, and how did you end up in the lending industry, and maybe even more particularly with US Bank versus other lenders. As we know, there's a ton of other lenders out there. And so what got you to where you got?
honestly, it was just kind of by happen chance. I would say I started after I graduated college. I worked at Hertz Rent a Car. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, got a business degree at Oregon State, so found that as an opportunity. And uh, I always say it's kind of a blessing in disguise that what happened with the Hertz job happened. I got laid off. They were doing some reorganization, and I just didn't love what I was doing. I had to do sales that I didn't agree with.
Hmm.
And so, coincidentally enough, I was in the hot tub at my apartment complex, and somebody that I knew from Oregon State ended up walking right in and started chatting. She worked at US Bank. I had been a lifelong customer. She said, "Hey, why don't you come to interview for a personal banker position?" And I'm like, "Oh, sounds good to me." I'm a 40-year-old in like a 65-year-old body. I still use a checkbook. Like I'm like a
Yes.
like a I'm a money person. So finance always was something that was interesting to me. And so yeah, I just took the job of being a banker, and I did that for from 2008 to 2015. And then just through the time of being a banker, I just really enjoyed the lending aspect of it and saw the opportunity within mortgage. It was a little scary because it was going from a hourly job to then commission, but it was one of those where I felt like it was a time that I was ready to take a chance. And now another 8 years later, here I am. So
Hmm.
How did you mentally get through that? Because I think that's a good thing to bring up, is the salary or a steady income to kind of what you guys go on and what we go on as agents, is that commission and basically unknown of when your paycheck comes in. How did you process that and figure that out? Because I think that's a big jump that people have to make. My prior career was the same way. People were like, why would you get into a job where you don't have this steady income? And why would you get into this job where you do have to worry about that? So, I had my own process, but Casey, did you even go through a process of like, what's the risk rewards, or what did you do to figure it out? Or were you
oh,
just so young, you're like, okay, let's try it?
no, absolutely. I mean, I 100% thought about it. One thing that I feel like kind of could potentially contribute to it is growing up, my parents owned a landscaping business. So my dad actually just sold the business here year and a half ago.
Mm.
So why I bring that up is there were so many times where I'm sure in his life where he just was like, where am I going to get my next job? Like, where's
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
next paycheck? But the drive that I saw he had, I figured kind of was instilled into me growing up. Like I thought if my dad can do it, I can do it. It's just somebody I've always looked up to, right? And
Hmm.
so yeah, it was scary, but like what I was making at a banker position was not great, right? And I thought for me to if I can at least make what I made at that job doing commission, then it's, I mean, what am I going to lose out on? And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I was scared, super scared the first year or two. And I mean, I would be up at like, 11 o'clock at night, like, oh my God, is this loan going to go through? I mean, it was, yeah, crazy stressful, but
Yeah.
fortunately I came in at a good time.
Mhm.
Because coming in what, 2015, your rates were, oh gosh, I don't know, 4, maybe 5%, right? And so it was
Mhm.
something where, and they say it's what, like a 7-year cycle, right? So it was like from 15 to 22, I was just able to continually be a little more successful, and because of that, able to build up my savings. And that's something that I think is so important, is people in this industry, whether you're a real estate agent, lender, you have to be smart with your money. And so
Mhm.
I always have been like that. And so you might get this huge commission check, and, oh, I'm going to buy a new car, or I'm going to go on a month long trip, whatever. Like, that's fine, but you just got to make sure that you really, prepare for those times like we have for the last 2 years, right?
For sure.
And I still stress out every single day of thinking, where's my next paycheck going to come from? But I know that if I don't have one for a month or two, I'll be fine, because I
Yeah.
set myself up to know that it's not, will it happen? It is going to happen.
Mhm.
And so, I don't know, hopefully that maybe answers kind of what
No, it
you're
does.
asking.
It does. It's a risk, and you have to weigh the risk versus reward. And for us, and Cody, you can go on yours a little bit, but yeah, for me, it was like, what am I getting out of that salary job that doesn't give me that the hourly job doesn't give me? And for me,
Mhm.
it was the family and the free time and the ability to
Well,
do. We work a lot when you're working for your own commission. You work a lot, but it's just it's a different lifestyle, and one that I was willing to take that risk. And that's like, coming from the cop world where everyone pretty good, decent state salary and state retirement. We're like,
Mhm.
what
Good
are you
benefits.
doing? Yeah, what are you doing with your life? Why are you doing this? This is stupid. But I wanted something different. I wanted something different, and was willing to take that risk to do it. But what about you, Cody? What?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think kind of similar to Casey, like my thought was, if I can just make enough money, and I wasn't making a lot of money when I got into the business. So it's like, if I can just make this much and feel like I at least enjoy my job more, then I will be happy with that. And then, it does grow and grow. But I feel like after that first maybe year or two, it's the concern is always like the paychecks coming in, but I think there becomes a point too where you go, okay, I know what to do now. Now it's just me going through and doing these things, because it's hard work. It's a lot of the same stuff, but it's all the things that you have to do. You got to make the calls, you got to get in front of people, you got to do all these things. And if you do, you're going to be successful. But after a while, you're like, especially in a good market, I feel like that was one thing with 2020, 21, first part of 22, or not, no, yeah. You kind of you don't have to go through the same motions, because everybody's wanting to buy, everybody's wanting to
Yeah,
refinance. You've just been in the business, you've been talking to people, and it's like the calls come in and it's awesome. But then you get out of that groove of like, I need to set up meetings, I need to be doing these things over and over and over. And then you're like, maybe I don't. Maybe I can go golf 3 days a week, and the business just keeps coming in, and I've kind of got it figured out. But yeah, I mean, commissions, you get the reward of seeing some good paychecks, and then you also get those dark times where you're like, I don't know that I'm ever going to get paid again. So,
for sure. For sure.
honey, enjoy
There's
your
lots of
life right
waking up.
now, because in 6 weeks
We're
we're
homeless.
going back
Yeah.
to an
Like,
apartment.
yeah.
yeah,
For sure. There's lots of
yeah.
sleepless nights.
Mm-hmm.
A- And to add one thing, Joe, too, I think for me, what didn't scare me as much is, and I'm sharing this before we started the podcast, but I was mentioning that I had built a lot of relationships at being a banker with a lot of loan officers, external loan officers, not with U.S. Bank, and so it was something where I knew, and I guess kind of dive into one of the benefits that I feel being this job is I can do stuff all over the country. So as I was saying
Yeah.
earlier, you know, if there was a client that that the loan officer had that they needed a home equity line, which I had done for so many of their customers, and they needed to then buy a house in in California. They would send me those clients, and so I started to see opportunity that I felt like was a kind of an untapped
Yeah.
option that was out there. And so that's kind of what gave me the comfort to think, hey, I think I could do this. Because if I had no connections at all, like, sure, I feel like I have enough confidence in myself to go out and talk to people, but I just felt like at that point there was enough kind of already enough relationships already built to where I felt like, hey, let's just dive in, see what happens. And it could be a terrible idea, or it could be great. And now, said what, 8-9 years later, it's sometimes I still feel like it's a terrible idea, but
I think we all do.
Yeah,
but
right?
I think that's a good point with lenders, and I think that's what's cool about you guys' gig is that you can reach further throughout the United States, whereas real estate is very localized to a certain extent. We can refer things out and that sort of stuff. But to pivot a little bit, Casey, how do you market, or what are some marketing things that you do in the outside of your scope area? So the multiple states, do you do anything? Does the bank provide you anything, or how have you done it, or are you trying to do different things, or how does that work with lending and working those different areas?
It really goes back to, again, relationships that I built. So I'm not going to share the company name, but one of the clients that he would come into the first branch that I worked at as a personal banker, he was a customer that came in, and his clientele is, he works with physicians and dentists that are just finishing the residency, but they travel. They have their associates travel over the country to go to these schools, talk about their financial advising company, so that when they're done with their schooling, they can help assist with with helping them figure out their life, right? And so I connected with him, and was able to meet people all over the country, and I would do their loans. But then to go a little bit further, I would make sure that I continue to connect with the agents that I close the loans for in those different states. So like I work with a lot of people, not a lot, a fair amount of people in Alaska. And one of the clients, he owns a medical group, and so he started telling his other employees about me. And so it's kind of just a word of mouth, but also making sure that you, I want to say take advantage, but make sure that you're using the tools that are given to you to continue to reach out to those agents. Like I said, because I have a lady that probably contacts me once a month up in Alaska that she's referred just random clients, nothing to do with this insurance or no, sorry, not investment company. So it's I don't, I wouldn't say there's any like crazy thing that I do. It's just communicating and continuing to reach out every month and say, hey, do you have something for me? So it's not rocket science, I would say.
No, it takes a while, and Cody, you probably agree with that. Is like it's a long game with a lot of that stuff. I don't think there's any one quick trick that's going to get you the 800 clients in a month, like you always see in our ads in our industry of like, oh, just pay us this and we'll get you this many things. And I think it is like it's staying in constant communication with the people that already know us, like us, and trust us, and continue to maintain the relationship, because what comes with that is better clients, more stable clients. People that trust you already are much easier than trying to get those cold leads. I don't know your thoughts, Cody, on that.
Yeah, no, I don't remember who it was. I think it was actually Jake, my manager, years ago, that had told me, kind of just like oversimplifying it, just staying top of mind, because I think there becomes a point where you're like, well, I don't know what to tell this person or what to say. Like if I'm supposed to continually call and touch base and everything, like what am I going to say? But it's really just being there and letting them know too that you're there. I'm supporting you. I'm going to update you on stuff. Like I'm here for you, because if I don't do it and somebody else does, and the next time a new lead comes in, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Casey was, I just talked to Casey yesterday. I'm going to send it to him versus, if I don't call and talk to you for 3 months because I'm just off, busy doing other stuff or whatever, and I'm not intentional about it, then my guess is that some other lender has touched base
Has
and
been
and
contacting.
shared
Yeah.
different things. And it's like, not that they don't want to send it to you or anything, but it's like, oh, this person is working for it,
Yep,
and
absolutely.
it's just the little touches and everything. But Casey, I was curious to know, since you went from the banking to the mortgage side, do you remember, like, was there a point where you kind of realized or thought like, I think this is my thing? Like 6 months into it, a couple years into it, was there a point where you're like, this is where I'm supposed to be? Or does it just kind of like life just keeps going and you're like, oh wow, I'm 8, 9 years into this?
Well, I mean, you say this is where I'm supposed to be. Probably like a year and a half in, I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, okay, I can make some pretty decent money doing this.
Uh-huh.
I think this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I mean, fortunately from when I started to now, I mean, I except for the last couple of years, I
Right.
just continued to, trend up. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even last year, which was probably my second worst year in the 9 years, was uh, like threefold what I made as a banker. You know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
just like, so to me, I love talking with people. I love helping people. And I guess I've kind of started to realize that I like, I say work for myself, and you'd be like, you work for a huge corporation, but in this type of a role, you really are working for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're not creating business, you're not collecting a paycheck, right? And
Yeah.
so I've loved to have the freedom that I have, but also be able to, stay connected with, friends, family, whatnot, that have allowed me to, to do their loans. So, yeah, I don't know there was any particular like, oh my God, this is it. But
Yeah.
who wouldn't want to continue doing what they're doing? And people will be like, you're lying, but money's not everything, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We definitely need it to survive. But yeah, I think because seeing where I was able to be financially, I thought, oh, why would I stop doing this if it makes me happy? If
Mm-hmm.
it's made me financially stable. Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
so
Casey, and Cody, you can pipe in after Casey, but how have you seen the business change and business strategies change with lending? Because obviously it fluctuates with the market, and you guys mentioned that getting in when the getting's good is easy. But how have you seen lending change in general, or has it changed in general over these, especially last couple years?
oh yeah, I mean it's got crazy competitive, right? And so I mean I've lost a lot of deals because other lenders out there are going to give a bigger discount. And um it I think where some people maybe have struggled, and I've seen a lot of people, even my peers that have got out of the industry, is
Hmm.
they just get deflated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you just have to know that there is another side to this. And as long as you can stay afloat and continue to try to reach out to your book of business and just stay updated, that when that moment comes where rates start to drop, you know the people that you've been communicating with, they're
Yeah.
going to be the first ones to come to you. And as far as changes, I mean, yeah, there's been a crazy amount of changes. But I also think some of the people that have struggled is the people that aren't willing to adapt,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just have one of my peers that this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it's absurd. I have no idea why it took to 2018 or whatever it was, but we didn't have an online portal system. And to take applications, we literally had to do it manually. And one of my peers was like, when it finally came out, he was like, well, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to fill it out. It's going to take an hour and a half to complete the application. And I said, bro, I said, send them the link. They'll do your job for you,
Yeah.
and you can just sit on the sideline, right? I mean, it
Yeah.
just uploads bank statements. It's a lot of times we don't even need pay stubs or W-2s, because it's an automatic verification of income. And it's just, so yeah, there have been so many changes, but that was one of the ones I was just like I was like, but if you're not going to survive, if you're not willing to adapt. So I think that's a big component of, being able to survive is being willing to adapt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think adapting is a big one. And to your point too, there's a lot, I feel like people are, there's a lot more shopping that goes on with interest rates being higher because everybody's payment is already like at the top of what they want to be spending. So getting that extra $20, $50 a month in savings is a big deal, as opposed to when rates are, in the fours, fives, even. It's like, okay, this is within my range. But I think a lot of the not adapting part is what has caused people to get out of the business, because you have a situation where this thing that I was doing, or these things that I was doing, was working really well, or at least the impression that it was working really well. It was the market that was going really well. And the things that I was doing are working, and it's bringing in business. And now that same thing's not working anymore because it's a completely different market that we're in. And now it's like, I felt like I went back to my first year of business. I'm like, okay, when there's no business, what do? You go back to like getting in front of people and just making a bunch of phone calls and networking and getting out there, and all the things that we kind of, we're fortunate, I guess you could say, that you didn't have to do as much to see the results. And now it's like you work 2-3 times harder to get that one deal. But if you don't do that, then you're going to be the next person that's like, all right, well, I can't keep doing this. Like, I've burned through all my savings. We don't have the resources. The Fed's not talking about dropping rates tomorrow, so I got to figure out something to do. And I don't know about you, but I definitely was in that position of, there is nothing else that I want to do. Like, other than being retired, or like going and creating my own fun business of something, like I don't know what else I would want to do, and I really don't want to do something else. So I need to just figure out a way how to fix this. Not that it's just that easy, but I was definitely humbled through the process, because I started in 2013, so just a little bit before you, but it was post, the crash. So like every year got a little bit better and got a little bit better, and you're like, 2020, 21 hits, and you're like, I don't know what it's going to take to make this market slow down. But it turns out when you just crank up the rates to 8%, that'll do it. But it's like, you kind of get blindsided by it, thinking like, okay, yeah, if business slows down, it's going to slow down. But you don't realize what that impact could look like, and how drastic it can be. And I don't think there's ever a safe time. So yeah, save the money and continue your good habits even when things are busy.
One thing too, and I don't know, Cody, if you can speak on this or not, but one thing that's been really hard though too is the loyalty. I've had some real hard conversations with clients where I got them pre-approved, and I told them all about first time home buyer, had no idea about anything, got them ready to go, pre-approval, checked in a week or two later, and they go, oh well, no, we worked with so and so, and I thought, like, wait, where? And well, they could offer this rate. And I'm like, well, you didn't tell me any of these details. Like, let me know. And so I lost 3 deals last month from clients that I've been working with for probably the last year and a half.
Wow.
Where they, they just said, oh, well, yeah, I found a better rate. And I make sure I tell every client, hey, if we have a particular rate, there's always going to be somebody that says they can offer something better, but come back to me, let me know, because it's very likely that as long as it's within reason, we can match that. And unfortunately, they didn't reach back out, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I get it. End of the day, it's the customer's decision who they want to work with, but it was people that I had a fairly good relationship with, and it's just a sign of the times right now. It's just there's such little inventory. And when somebody does finally find something, if the lady, actually one of the ladies was like, oh well, I needed a pre-approval like that night, and I was like, I gave you one as soon as you needed it last time, like what changed? And so that's been a hard part for me, is because I as myself, and I'm like incredibly loyal, and I know not everybody is that way,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, I
it's
think
just,
that. Yeah, Casey, I think it goes to the point. I harp on this all the time in my YouTube videos and all this stuff is having a team, because I've had deals where my clients shop, and that's fine. They should shop around, but to bring them back in, like in your case, Casey, it would have been like, hey, have you talked to Casey about that rate that you got? It's a constant
Mm-hmm.
communication so that they can come back to you, because a lot of people just hear that number and they're like, oh, I'm going with them. Versus I know as the agent that I want to work with. It's not about me, but I know that the deal goes better if we work with people like Cody and Casey. So I, explain to my clients, yes, this company may be able to get you this cut rate, but how about we try to talk to Casey or Cody and
Mm-hmm.
see if they can, if, like you said, within reason, because what they can potentially offer you is that rate, as well as a service that is better than most of those cut rate mortgage brokers, that will. It's just the same in real estate. Yes, you can get a better commission price on an agent, but you're going to give up something. You're going to give up something. We don't know what that is yet, but
Yeah.
generally it's the quality of service, the quality of the transaction, the smoothness of the transaction, and ultimately you not enjoying that deal. And it's
Mm-hmm.
the same with lenders. Is like, that's why agents have preferred lenders, but it's on the agent as well to tell those clients, like, they call, Joe Schmuck Mortgage and say they gave me a great rate. It's like, yes, that's awesome, but here's what you might be missing out on if you don't work with you know these other
Mm-hmm.
lenders that I know provide a better quality service.
yeah.
And I don't get
Well,
compensated any more for giving you guys leads. I just know that in our industry, there are so many of us, and the bar is set fairly low in certain circumstances. So when I have people
Mm-hmm.
like you guys that I can give to clients, it's not because I make anything off of you guys. It's because I know that the client will get the service that they I think truly want in these transactions.
well, it just cracks me up too. Sometimes they'll be like, "Well, they're offering 6.75%," and I'm like, "No, there's absolutely no way." And they're like, "Well, yeah, look at my loan estimate." I'm like, "Because they're
Yeah.
charging you 1.5 points." Like,
Right.
well, I could just give you that too. So
Yeah.
it's just, it's
They're
like,
like, my closing costs are a little bit higher, but the rate's great.
Yeah, it's funny,
yeah,
but they don't know. They like Cody and I have talked about before, is they don't know what they don't know. And it's not that they're
Mm-hmm.
stupid. They don't do deals a lot. They do
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 deals in their entire lifetime. We do them all the time. So
yeah.
it's on us to explain to them that stuff, because yes, that number, that percentage is like, boom, I want that 6.5% rate, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't understand the back end stuff that goes into it. And those mortgage brokers unfortunately don't explain that in the front end. They get the deal. It's the same with agents. Like, we'll offer you X lower than everyone else. It's like, but you don't tell them what they're giving up in that, because it's not all. It's
Yeah.
not. You're not going to get the same level of service. But
Right.
Casey, like, what I know that from my own personal standpoint, different lenders provide different things. I know, I love working with both of you guys, and I would refer, and I do refer everyone to you guys, because I know you provide a quality service. But what does US Bank offer that you can kind of talk about today that you can provide clients, or who do you work with primarily? If people are thinking X, they need to go to Casey. And Cody, don't get all mad. We still love you. We still love
Yeah.
residential
I'm
mortgage.
an
We
I'm an
just
equal opportunity lender here.
Yeah,
well, and you guys are cool, because I think both of you, you have a maturity and a business-like sense to say, hey, I can't do this. It's better to go to Cody, or
Yeah.
Cody to say, hey, I just don't do these. Maybe Casey does these. So I think you guys are both great, great people to work with because of that. You don't think that, just like in real estate, I can't do everything. I don't work well
Yeah.
with every person. So anyways, so go ahead, Casey.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
We're
totally, yeah,
adulting.
yeah. And I look forward to hearing, kind of Cody sharing a few things too. But yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, of course, I can do your regular, conventional loan, but really, I'd say maybe 3 to 4 just products that I feel like maybe more of a niche product is, and I've shared this with Joe a bunch, but I do actually land loan financing,
Yep.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
there's really, I guess, two pieces of that. So I might have a client that's saying, "Hey, yeah, I found a piece of land up in government camp. It's bare dirt. There's no sewer or water, but we want to build a house on there. Maybe 2-3 years down the line. We're not ready to actually build it immediately. So we offer the land loan financing to just buy that land now, help them give them an opportunity to save up some extra money for that build that they do later on. And again, that's a product that I can do all over the country, other than New York and I'd have to look to be for sure, but I think New York and maybe Texas, right? But I've done it in Montana. I've done some in California. So yeah, so the lot one piece would be something. But we also then, if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I found this piece of land. We have a builder. We have blueprints ready to go. We to what the term in the industry would be a one-time close construction loan, right?" So that's something that U.S. Bank has a pretty big uh, pretty big coverage of.
Okay.
And so that would be the second one. The other one is we do offer physician loans. So as I had mentioned earlier, I have the relationship with that financial advisor. So they have clients that either just finished their residency or they're going into like their fellowship. They're able to do a physician loan, which for us, and this is different with other lenders, but we have as little as 10% down for the physician, but there's no mortgage insurance, right? And so it's a way where, hey, they're just coming out of school. Maybe they're not going to have as much as they hope for that 20% down payment. So we give the opportunity for them to do that physician loan. And then the other one would be I do a ton of home equity lines of credit. It's some of the loan officers might think, well, that's kind of silly. Why? It's a waste of your time. You're not going to make any money off of it. But I try to look at the bigger picture and think, hey, okay, maybe it's not going to pay off now, but if I have a client that I'm working with, they're going to set that up, but maybe a year from now, they're going to look to buy a vacation home or maybe a new primary residence, whatever they may need, that gives them accessibility to that line of credit for that as an option.
Yeah.
And then, but also, like I've said, I've done those home equities for other mortgage officers, like Cody, could be one of your clients, right? And, again, I want to be able to help, let's say you had referred a lot loan client to me, Cody, right? I want to figure out, hey, how can I help, kick back something to him? Yeah, I'll do the line of credit, but that helps your client get the access to the equity they need to buy that new home, right? So that has allowed me to feel good about the relationship that I have with the loan officers or the other brokers, because there's not a lot of stuff that we can't do, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the VA, we have USDA, we have first time homebuyer programs. I don't dabble in that a lot, so that's something that I think a lot of brokers maybe have a little bit better better programs out there, or maybe more of a focus. So yeah, I think those four things are some of the products that I feel are a little bit more unique to us. But again, I'm not sure, Cody, what you have, so I'm not sure if some of those are the same or if
two of those three are going to be coming your way from me, because I don't do HELOCs and I don't do land loans. So we have a construction loan that we can do, but we don't do the land loan. And then the HELOCs, like I said, that's perfect, because I don't really have any. I have more relationships with loan officers that are not at banks than I do at banks. So a lot of the people that I know or have worked with in the past don't have necessarily access to a lot of the kind of banking type products. So it ends up being a little bit more of the, go ahead and, who do you bank with? Okay, maybe try them first, and or, so I'd love to throw those to you, because I used to be able to offer land loans a couple years ago, but we don't have that. So
and with the HELOCs too, there's no cost, literally nothing to set them up either. So it's a really good product. And even for myself, I've thought about it here in the next 6 months or a year to just set it up if an emergency happens, right? And that's maybe 20% of the clientele is set it up just for that. But especially with our fluidity of our job, I mean, that's something that could be beneficial, for us, is something happens. So yeah,
For sure.
like I said, I've done those since 2008, so I know those in and out. I used to get a lot of crap from all the other loan officers about how many I did, but I was like, well, you can
Yeah,
laugh
it's
when you
like
see,
marketing.
Yeah.
yeah, and I was getting paid for them, so it's
Sure.
like,
Yeah.
well, so times where it's been slow now, I still do a handful of them every month, and
Hmm.
it helps supplement the income a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I get all my clients, like if they haven't done it, I'm like, it's just, it doesn't hurt you to do it,
Yeah.
to just
Right.
have it for an emergency fund. It just doesn't hurt. It's smart to do. So,
Yeah.
well, Casey, I won't take any more of your time. Thank you so much for being here. If people need to get a hold of you, if you want to give yourself a shout out, tell us how we'd get a hold of you. What's the best way to get in contact with you? And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, I mean, two ways. I have my US Bank webpage. It's just, gosh, I was just gonna say, I guess you would just type in if you just type in Google US Bank Casey McLaughlin, it'll take you right
Take you
there.
to it.
But if you need more, details, you could always email me. It's casey.mclaughlin@usbank.com, and or give me a call or text on my cell, and that's 503-407-4188.
Cool. Well, it's
Perfect.
been
Any
great to have
social
you on,
media
man.
there?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No,
No?
I use LinkedIn. I think
Okay.
we're a little more restrictive on what we can use social media wise with
Yeah.
the bank. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a
I
follow.
typically just use LinkedIn to reach out to people in the industry.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Well, you'll be on my social media whether you like it or not. So
I already have been, Joe.
okay, man. Well, it was great talking to you. Thank you for the time, and maybe we
Yeah.
look forward in the future to maybe having another discussion down the road with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity. Nice to meet you, Cody. And
You as well.
yeah,
Thanks for coming
hopefully,
on.
yeah, we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
All right. We'll see ya.